I love when coaches, consultants, and professional service providers want to do big things in their business. They want to rise to the top and influence their market and the world around them. They want to have a greater impact and make a more lucrative income. Well, if this is you, welcome to Expert in You podcast, the show where I interview other experts and coaches, consultants, so that they can share their success strategies with you. We're going to talk about marketing and how to close more sales, how to get more premium clients, and how to really build your visibility in the market and scale your business like a boss. If this is you, welcome to the show. I want to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell right now so you don't miss one episode. Grab your coffee and buckle up because we are ready to give it all to you to help you become the expert and get paid as the expert that you are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, Ann Carden. And this week on my show, you are going to love my guest. She's truly an expert in her business and in what she does. And she's been in her business for years. And I have Susan Fennema with me, she calls herself a chaos eradicating officer. She is the CEO of owner of Beyond the Chaos. So you know this is going to be a fun show. Susan, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Ann. I'm really excited to talk to your audience.
Yes, I am so excited to dig into everything that you're doing. So I always like to start with, how did you get here? How did you get into the business that you are doing today? Let us hear that story.
So it turns out I've always been doing it. Even from the age of 3 years old, my mom would dump out a whole jar of buttons while she sewed. And I would organize them. This was me playing, right? I would organize them by size and color and how many go in each row, and then make sure the rows are, diagonally even. So it's in my nature to create order out of chaos. And throughout my career, I've always worked for small business owners, often as the right-hand person, that person that makes things happen. Mm-hmm. And when I was ready to leave my last role, I jumped off into serving all business owners instead of just one at a time. I guess one of the highlights of my career was a 10-year stint as an operations director at an advertising agency in Chicago. And let me just tell you, if you can do advertising, you can do anything. So
right.
That's how I got here. Short and sweet path.
Well, I love it. And you definitely dropped some gold there. And so I would love for people to pick up on this if they didn't, or to hear this. And that is, you took what it was so natural for you. It was already such a gift and a talent for you. And you were able to turn that into a really lucrative business. And it's the same philosophy that I teach. I see so many people that decide they're going to get into business and they go down this path, which is nothing like anything they've ever done. It's not even really a sweet spot for them. And so it's like pushing a boulder up a hill. But when you do what's already very natural for you, it's just a much easier path. And it sounds like you found that out for yourself.
I did. And, and to that point, I've had people come and say, listen, if you'll target bigger businesses than the ones you already work with, you'll have, you'll be able to command such a higher price and have so many more options out there. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to. I don't want to serve the bigger businesses. I want to affect change in small business so that we can, help that backbone of American society stand tall. The big ones, it takes longer to get things done. Also,
right. All the red tape and yes.
It matters. Hierarchy. It matters that you have the passion, right?
Yes, I love that. I mean, I've worked with small businesses for many, many years, after I was a business owner for many, many years. And so you and I have the same heart. I really love the smaller. I feel like they need more help. I feel like they are often more receptive to the help. And you're right. It truly is the backbone, especially in America. It's the backbone of this country, really. So I love that I love that you have a heart for that. Okay, so let's dive into Beyond the Chaos, because every business gets to a place where now they are growing, and sometimes they have outgrown the owner has their business has really outgrown them. And so this is a lot of times where things start falling apart and things start falling through the cracks and they start going backwards. So it sounds like that's really a lot where you come in to help them get organized, get systems, get streamlined. Is that spot on?
That's pretty spot on. Now, of course, we'd rather get there before they start backtracking.
Yeah, but they don't do it until they're in pain, right?
Right. They have to wait sometimes until it hurts so bad. And
that's right.
There's so many engagements that we enter into that we're just like, if you had just called us 6 months earlier, we could have prevented so much pain. But, it's the nature of the small business owner who started their business because they're so good at their trade. Right. To believe they have to do everything. Mm-hmm. And you don't. And you can't. Right. And, it starts to hinder your business growth when you believe you have to.
Yes, you are 100% right. And one of the other things in this, because I've worked with a lot of small businesses as you have, one of the things that owners don't realize a lot of times is, I hear all the time, well, we can't get help, or, people are going over here for $1 more. I just want to say that's not usually the case. They're really going over there for $1 more because of the chaos that might be going on in your business. We are responsible for how our business runs, for being the leader of our business and everything that goes on. And so it's important to know that when your business is chaotic, when people don't feel secure, when they don't feel there's no organization and things like that, it really does hurt your ability to keep employees, and it hurts your ability to attract them. So even more than just the growth, I mean, definitely it stops growth, but it also hurts you inside your company, inside your business in ways that maybe feel a bit like, oh, this is the norm, but it doesn't have to be that way. Is that right?
I'm not going to deny that a huge corporation can come in and pay somebody more and give them more benefits and, make them go work for corporate America because of those options. I won't deny that, but I will also fall on my sword for the fact that people don't leave jobs because of money. In rare exceptions, it just isn't the case. They leave because they're not happy, because they can't succeed, because they can't be fulfilled. Right. I guarantee my whole team, if they wanted to go work for corporate America and make the big bucks, they could. But we offer them so many other things that they would never get there, including support, including a nice lifestyle job, that it keeps them here. And you have to always think about those things. And they know how to measure their success. They know when they're winning.
Yes, I love that. And I just think that's such an important point for people. So, which really does lend to exactly what you help people do, is you help them get that structure, that infrastructure into their business, get those systems in place so that things can run more smoothly, things don't fall through the cracks, and you are giving people the opportunity to succeed, but also to be in a business that succeeds. How many small businesses don't make it, right? About, 87%, I think, are the numbers. Why is that? Let's think about that and let's talk about that. So, so what are the things, if we hit on 3 or 4 points that you would like to bring up that you feel small business owners really need to know and to grab onto?
The first thing is you are the bottleneck. I'm still the bottleneck, as you, and we're very process oriented and structured, but as you continue to grow your business, you will always be the bottleneck. And so constantly trying to figure out, how do you get yourself out of that? How do you get yourself out of that? Why am I the only one that knows this? Those types of things are very important to getting the structure put into your business. The other is that all of that structure and process, and I'll talk a little bit more about those things here in a minute, but all of that actually creates a business. Without that structure, you're just a bunch of people running around doing stuff,
Flying by the seat of your pants, I like to say.
Right. You're not all moving towards the same goal. You're not fulfilling the same brand. You're not giving your clients the same experience. And everybody is paddling under the water so frantically while they're trying to, look all comfortable on the top. And a business like that is also not set up for you as the owner to exit it. So we're all going to transition out of our business one way or another, no matter what. Right. So are you setting your business up to be sold or to be handed down to, children, or to, be sold or maybe given percentages to your team? How are you planning to exit your business, and how can you if you're the one doing everything?
Oh, 100%.
Right.
As someone who has sold 5 businesses, I can attest to that. If you don't have all of the things in place that you're talking about, no one wants your business. They don't want to buy a job.
Absolutely.
People are not going to invest into a job, right?
It doesn't matter how hard you're working. In fact, if you were working less hard, it would be more valuable.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's 100% right. Yes.
So
people walk into a turnkey situation.
Right. They want to buy a company, not a job, just like you said. And so putting the structure in place is the first step towards that. Without documented processes, you're never going to get there. That really is the first step. So we look at it as essentially a 3-step process. 1 is get the processes documented. 2 is handle your project management and the fulfillment of what you're delivering to your clients. And then 3, start to manage your interruptions as the owner. How are you making sure that you're not just looking at, squirrel, that kind of thing.
Right.
That you're actually focused on what you should be focused on when you're supposed to be focused on it, and you're not putting out fires all the time. So we start that with process development. That's the getting those steps out of your head so that you're able to have others execute those steps for you.
Right.
It's a challenge, but it's important.
A good rule of thumb, I used to tell small business owners this when I was coaching them: if you have to put your hands on something, typically more than one time, it's time to create a system, right? Or it's time to put a process in place for that. Because when you're touching things too much, that's all lowers productivity, that all of those things keep things in chaos. And especially if you're putting out a fire over and over and over again, it's a clear indication that you have to fix that. You can't just keep doing that. But how many do?
Right. And usually putting out fires is a symptom of bad execution and project management.
Right.
The process can help you get there, and developing the process is part of structuring your project management so that it works, so that you're delivering the same way every time, which also makes you scalable. That project management feature should be something you're thinking about when you're selling. What am I promising the client? Is that actually what we're going to deliver? And then how are we going to execute that repeatedly? Not everything custom, right? When it takes you as an owner an hour and a half to write a proposal for every client, you're probably not delivering something that is repeatable and scalable. If you can replace a few bullets and be done in 5 or 10 minutes, you're good. That's when you started to develop that process that's repeatable. Those things then in your project management function become templates on how you execute. And even though the deliverable might be something different every time, say you're a software developer and you make custom software for a client. Well, of course, you're not delivering the same thing to the client every time. Then it would be a product, right? But the method you're going about delivering it is what I'm talking about. So, what is the order? Do you draw a wireframe? Do you get an approval? Do you make a mock-up? Do you get a color palette? Then do you start writing code? And then who does the QA? All those types of things are the project management structure I'm talking about. The process looks more like, how do you onboard a new client? How are you setting them up so that they know what to expect from you and they know how to communicate with you? How do you offboard a team member?
Right.
And sometimes that has to happen really fast, right? If you have to fire somebody, and now these days, everybody's got the keys to the kingdom, we invite them into all this software.
Right.
How do you shut them out of that quickly? And if you
that's a great point.
If you don't have a clear checklist, and you have a problem child there, you could have a big problem. So that offboarding, it could be, how do you pay your team consistently? How do you invoice your clients? I have run into so many business owners that hate invoicing because it's become this ordeal. And so they don't do it. And so now.
So what are you working for? I know
right?
Crazy, but that's true.
And
they don't like that part of it.
Exactly. And so if you develop a repeatable process for that, now it just happens every 2 weeks, or in our case, we do it every Monday morning. Okay. It gets done. We move on to other things. But as long as there's that repeatable process in place to get that done, that's really important. So those are some things as far as process development go that should be top of your list.
Perfect. And oh my goodness, so well said. So one of the things you talked about is managing interruptions. I want to dive into that just a little bit and talk a little bit more about that.
So interruptions, no matter what, even if you have a job, if you're an architect and you're sitting down and you're focusing on something to create, if you're interrupted, it usually takes you about 20 minutes to get back to where you were before.
Right.
Okay. That can be worse if you're a software developer. It could be even bigger if you're a business owner who's trying to come up with a big strategy for how we're going to, reach our next goal next year. So if you are not making time where you can be uninterrupted to do these things, you're not ever going to be able to execute against them. And it's going to take much longer. It's going to maybe never happen. So the method, I love calendar blocking. It is absolutely,
me too. Yes,
man, it makes a huge difference in your world. And you have to honor those appointments with yourself.
Yes.
And so there are ways to set that up so that you're not interrupted during those times. One is make sure your team knows when that's blocked, it's blocked.
Right.
You don't.
It's like closing your office door.
Right.
Don't bother me. That's right.
And you can still, quote, close your office door today, but that's turn off Slack, close your email,
right,
turn off your phone. You can still do it. So those things are things that are distractions to our bigger picture. And so getting those out of your way is a big, important thing. Now, if you're somebody who's saying, oh yeah, but I don't want to hold up my team if they have a question. If your team is constantly interrupting you all day with questions, guess what? Process. That's
process and systems. That's right. Yes.
That's something you have to put in place. Now, say you are a software developer and you are, you started it because you're a great software developer. So your team might need that tech advice from you. You might be the only one who can give it, but don't let them interrupt you all day. Set a time block in the afternoon for an hour and have office hours, just like our good old college professors used to do. You can sit on there and that's when you can do your admin work in the background, and they can pop on to a meeting if they need you. And if not, you just have that time to catch up on your admin work. So there are some definite things that you can put in place to structure your day so that your interruptions are dramatically reduced. And the biggest interruption's email.
Right.
That's a big one. And I think people feel that, oh my goodness, if I get an email, I have to respond right away. Well, you don't.
Right.
You also don't have to answer your phone. All of those things. You have voicemail. The email stays in your inbox. But the other thing I can recommend with that too is get a good virtual assistant.
Right.
Having a good virtual assistant with a process, we're back to process, right? Of how they.
Well, that is what you're all about, Susan. So you're not shocking me here.
It is. I know. Everyone should be surprised. Is have that VA going through your email on a regular basis and then just leaving you what you need to handle. I went a few weeks ago. I spoke at an event. I was gone from my home office from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And it was nonstop day, right? I was speaking. We were networking. There were other sessions to go to. It was nonstop. I got home and I had 2 emails.
Because your VA handled it all for you.
Because she handled it all. And I know some people are nervous about that. Doesn't happen overnight. You have to develop that process. You have to develop that rhythm. And as you train them on how you would respond, they also know what they don't know yet. And they'll leave those things for you. And it was beautiful. So I was expecting a mess, and you're like, no, easy, no problem. Way to go. You did your job.
I love that. And one of the things too that I try to do is I don't sit there and answer emails all day long. I have a couple of times during the day that I will check them. And then if I have additional time, I will maybe open up my phone and check them. But setting aside that time, that designated time to do that designated time to replace or return phone calls, all of those things can just really leverage the time that you are spending being distracted and being pulled a lot of different directions. And it just really helps with your productivity and being able to accomplish so much more. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of the things my VA does a great job of is if she doesn't know how to answer something, she'll screenshot the email and put it in Slack to me. So I can respond to her and tell her what to do and what to say. Now, you might say, well, that doesn't sound productive either. How is that different? How it's different is that I didn't go into my email box and look at the other 15 that were there too and get distracted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. This has been such a great conversation. I could talk to you for a long time. There's so much I know you could share, but how can people get a hold of you? And actually, let me back up. Tell them a little bit about your services and how people can work with you. Let's talk about that. And then who makes a good client?
Sure. Beyond the Chaos really digs in with clients. Initially, we do a discovery period. So usually takes about a month. It doesn't take that much effort from the client's end, which most of them like to hear.
Right.
But we're digging into what processes do you have written? If you do, what software are you using? How does your team feel about how things go, which sometimes is very different from what you think it is. We're looking at for job descriptions. We're looking for lack of training. We're looking for gaps. So that is our consulting part of our job. At the end of that month, we will give you a plan of all the things to execute against and what order to do them in. But what we do differently from most businesses is that now we will also help you do it. Because the last thing an overwhelmed business owner needs is a whole other list of things to do that you're never going to do, right?
Right.
So at that point, we will jump in and help implement against it. So we can help you set up your new project management tool and build the templates in it and train your team. Meanwhile, pulling out all those details out of your head to write the process so that you don't have to be involved in it anymore. The first time one of your projects goes through automagically, you're going to be so happy. How did that happen? It just happened without me.
Right.
So that's how we work with our clients. And then you had asked me one more thing. Oh, who are our clients?
Yes. Who makes a good client? At what point should they have a conversation with you where you could come in and help them?
So we work with services businesses. It could be trade or professional services, where it's 25 people or fewer in the company.
Okay.
You have to embrace technology, because technology is a way to move forward. It is a way to systemize. And hey, as we're moving into this AI world, you better.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
If you're still struggling with email, just wait.
Right.
We're looking for companies that want to grow, that are struggling to grow, where the owner is trapped in the day-to-day of their business ops. And so we're going to help you take those first steps, those initial steps to get out of that and to be able to start focusing on how you're going to continue to grow your business instead of just how you're going to, face that next fire or problem that's coming your way.
Right. Perfect. That's great. So how can people get a hold of you, Susan?
The best way is go to beyondthechaos.biz/ebook.
Okay.
And download the ebook, 3 Ways to Control Chaos in Your Business. And those will be those 3 things we just talked about, but in a lot more depth. And if you're like, Susan, the last thing I need is another book to read.
Read a book.
Our contact information's on that page too. So you can just reach out.
That's perfect. Well, thank you so much. And we will put those links and everything in the show notes, so you'll be able to grab those and go get her ebook or book a call with her. And then you're also on all social media channels as well, LinkedIn, Facebook, right?
On LinkedIn, not on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter.
Oh, okay.
So just look for me on LinkedIn. It's Susan Fennema.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today and sharing your expertise with my audience. This is just so needed for businesses moving forward. And, the other thing that we didn't talk about, but I just want to bring this up really quickly, is before people always had to hire employees. And now with the internet, you don't have to do that anymore. You can have a team working for you where you aren't paying taxes on them and you're not doing a lot of the things that you would have to do with an employee. So there's a lot of benefit to that. It can be a lot more cost effective for a business as they're trying to grow. And maybe you don't need an employee for everything. So it's a great way to actually add to your team and add to your business and be able to, like she said, get yourself out of being the bottleneck in your business until you make a decision. Okay, I think I need to bring someone in full time to do this when your company maybe gets to a place for that. So it's a great way to help people grow. And
the beauty of fractional work right now is you can tap into experience that you can't hire.
Absolutely.
The experience that's out there that you can get part-time is phenomenal. Plus, you're getting people who are still working in other businesses. So they're still being exposed to other things and continuing to grow, which helps your company too.
Right. Because people can bring a lot when they're outside the box. And when people are, for an example, an employee working in your business, they're still only seeing things one way. But like she said, one of the benefits, I hadn't really thought about that, Susan, but that's actually really a really powerful thing you shared. Because I used to work with a lot of different industries and had a lot of background in different industries, I could bring ideas from another industry to one and they would be like, we would have never thought about this, but it's because different industries do have different ways of doing things. And so that's really what you're talking about, is they can bring some different ideas and tools and systems and techniques to your business that you wouldn't maybe have exposure to otherwise.
Yeah. And just things that you know of because of other clients. We can say, oh, this client's had great success with that. Let's apply it here. Or, oh, that failed over there. Let's not do that again.
Right. The mistakes and the things too. So great. So again, thank you very much. I kept talking as we were wrapping things up, but thank you so much. Reach out to Susan if you have a need in your business. And until next time, everyone, God bless you. Go rock your business. Bye-bye. If you've enjoyed this episode, I want to invite you to go check out a free training that I have at expertinu.us. It is a training that I have on how you can get ultra premium dream clients, scale your business, get more freedom, and really simplify your business and multiply your money. So go check that out. And again, that is expertinu.us. I want to thank you for being here with me this week. I hope you found massive value. Please always leave a comment, feedback, or a question. We check them all. And I want you to go rock your business and make sure you join us again next week. God bless you. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.